expert forum today and the one yesterday as well. There was more focus yesterday on the technicalities and institutions and procedures that could enable this compact, migration compact, to be a part of the international refugee protection mechanism. And today, the speakers really digged down to the bottom of the issue and showed the details of where and which parts of the global migration compact can be an instrument for international protection. We started with a slight disagreement by Catherine this morning. She told us that a global compact on migration was probably not the primary venue for improving the international protection, but there were other places, but she didn't exclude the possibility that it could be used. And I liked Jürgen's response to that, seeing a global migration compact as an opportunity to improve international protection. And there are and the other discussions also show that there's a potential for that in the global compact for migration. Well, when you ask a restless political scientist to summarize an event and discussion by lawyers, you risk something. So here it comes. We had a very good contextualization and conceptualization of international protection by Catherine this morning. I think that the first condition for the global compact on migration to be a tool for international protection is to reinterpret it outside the context of the sustainable development goals, because the sustainable development goals looks at migration under objective under the goal 10, and it also mentions it in connection with development. I mean, it is as if migration of people is legitimate if it serves development purposes. So in that sense, and this is also repeated in a few places in the Global Migration Compact. So what I mean by reinterpretation is then taking the Migration Compact outside the context of this development agenda. Of course, it will also serve development, but not only development, but also the rights of people who want to migrate. Panel 1 was a very good discussion about the complementary pathways. And I saw that those complementary pathways, I saw examples of complementary pathways that could be used as tools of protection as well. But whom do these complementary pathways apply? Just two examples. Basically, skilled workers, smart students, and people who already have family members in the developed part of the world. So the most vulnerable people will not be covered by complementary pathways if it is interpreted and defined the way that we are defining it today. So again, a reinterpretation issue here if we want to use the complementary pathways as a protection tool. So the complementary pathways should not replace the institution of international protection. It should remain complementary. And it should not develop either in the direction of a neoliberal understanding of a refugee as an element or as a worker within the transnational market. There has been some tendencies of conceptualizing refugees as workers in a transnational market, because then the refugee is more acceptable within the discourse and functioning of the capitalist system, the transnational capitalist system. if you want me name names, it's Betts, of course, and his book about this. So it's important to use the complementary pathways, but not let it grow or develop in the direction of a transnational market serving understanding of a refugee. And the distinction between a refugee and migrant is extremely important. But the fact that migrants' human rights are restricted by states is not due to the fact that we have the refugee category. So I again support Jürgen's interpretation of this as distinct categories that exist together and that can be dealt with in a migration theory and regime concept. So the key in the Global Migration Compact, the key phrase there is the human rights of migrants, whatever their migration status is. So the pointer to protection of people who do not fall in the legal category of refugee is then included. So this is the potential. This is the main potential of the global refugee, global migration compact to be a tool for international protection. In panel two, we had an excellent discussion on the human rights of migrants that we find in the Global Compact on Migration. And one of the panelists summarized it really very well. The Global Compact on Migration emphasizes both human rights of migrants and state sovereignty, and its contribution to international protection depends on what states choose to focus on. So, together with what Catherine said, this is a warning to us. Global Compact on Migration is a double-edged sword, and it should be used correctly. If it should be used, reinterpreted, and put into the international protection mechanism correctly, if it is not going to dilute the refugee protection system and regime that we already have. And in panel 3, we had excellent examples about detention and border procedures and how global compact on migration could contribute to this. During the whole discussion, I saw 3 ways of approaching to the change in the international protection system. The first one was the carrot and stick approach, conditionality approach that came the first day, yesterday. And the second one was the norm diffusion approach, socialization through interaction, through the interaction that this compact produces. We saw it in today's presentations as well. The Razika from UNICEF was talking about that. Already the fact that the Global Compact on Migration started the discussion was a very great achievement. This is the socialization effect, and they are now able to talk with states, their member states, about refugee protection and access and detention. And Jürgen's approach and PROTECT's approach is the procedural approach. This is the third one. It was not named by others than Jürgen during this expert forum. It's about hard institutions and collaboration between institutions and procedures for international protection. So these 3 theoretical approaches Catherine was wondering about what theoretical approach we had. It is more the hard institutions and procedural approach in the whole project. If you look at all the work packages, for example, work package 3, which is about the systems of asylum, refugee status determination in Canada and the European countries, you will see that we are focusing on the procedures and institutions and collaborations between different state institutions and NGOs and international organizations in helping the refugees, and which kinds of institutional frameworks lead to better outcomes in terms of recognition of refugees. So it is the same also in work package 4 and in work package 5, which Simon Asherwood is leading. So it is the procedural approach that we have here. And Catherine's approach to international protection also showed that we are in the right direction, correct direction when it comes to conceptualization here. We are not narrowly focusing on the refugee category, but beyond that, people also on people who seek protection, migrants who seek protection. And Jürgen and his team use this expression very often, also in the program, migrants seeking protection. These are not asylum seekers. You're not an asylum seeker before you have lodged an application. And refugees, you're not a refugee before you have been recognized by a state authority or UNHCR. But then there is this huge mass of people who seek protection. We are also looking at those. Now, finally, I want to thank everybody who contributed to this. First of all, I want to thank Jürgen Bast, Professor Jürgen Bast from Gießen University, and his team, whom we have seen here in action today. And it was a perfect action. Everything went very smoothly, content-wise and discussion-wise. And I see that the program was very professionally made in terms of the people who were invited. There was real contribution, not only to our project, but to the discussion about international protection in general. And this, in my opinion, this expert forum is moving the state of the art already now. And I really look forward to reading the report and proceedings from this expert forum. And thanks to everybody who came as an audience and contributed with questions as well.